Frank?
Yeah, kid.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever saw in here?
Let me ask you a question, kid. Did you see that movie, Night of the Living Dead?
Yeah. That's the one where the corpses start eating the people, right?
Did you know that movie was based on a true case?
Come on, you're shitting me, right?
I ain't never been more serious in my life.
And they just brought those bodies here and left them?
Well, you know the Army.
And they've been here all this time?
14 years, as I recall.
There's bodies in there? Hey, these things don't leak, do they?
Leak? Hell no. These things were made by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Hey guys, what is up? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and today we'll be exploring the 2,4,5 Trioxin, a chemical compound that was featured in the 1985 horror comedy, The Return of the Living Dead, which was written and directed by Dan O'Bannon. 2,4,5 Trioxin was essentially a volatile gas that had been developed by the Darrow Chemical Company on behalf of the United States military to work as a powerful herbicide. During the experimentation phase, trioxin was also discovered to restore functions to the nervous system of cadavers and dead tissue in general, much to the surprise of the chemical company and to the delight of the military, which saw it as a potential form of biochemical warfare. 2,4,5 was extremely toxic, and exposure to a concentrated amount was able to both kill a person and bring their body back from the dead. Trioxin was also seen to be highly resilient, as it was seen capable of withstanding extremely hot temperatures. This was seen when the group initially attempted to cremate the first infected cadaver to get rid of it. Unfortunately for them and the rest of the country, the gas was released into the air, contaminating the rain clouds, which caused the toxin to fall back down in the form of rain. The preceding rainfall was highly irritable to the skin, a result of the diluted trioxin causing nerve ends to fire randomly. In this acidic rainfall, the toxin is not powerful enough to kill. However, the rain will seep into the ground, and if there happened to be a cemetery nearby, the corpses would then become reanimated. The concept for 2,4,5 Trioxin was actually based in part on Agent Orange and Trioxane. Agent Orange was a herbicide and defoliant chemical that was used by the United States military during the Vietnam War and was seen having horrifying side effects. One of the two chemicals used to produce Agent Orange is called 2,4,5 trichlorophenoxyacetic acid. Trioxane, on the other hand, was commonly used by morticians to repair cells and maintain a corpse after post-mortem tissue constriction. The aggressive toxin was initially stored under high-pressure steel drums containing cadavers, one of which malfunctioned, releasing both the gas and the body that had been preserved within it onto the unsuspecting medical warehouse workers. Surprisingly, the zombies that were eventually created as a result of trioxin were seen retaining their former intelligence, coupled with the ability to run, speak, and problem solve. An example of this was when the first cadaver that had escaped the steel drum containing it, also known as the tar man, was seen using a pulley system to break open a door and reach his desired target. Other zombies were also seen speaking to emergency services on the radio, asking them to send more people down so that they could eat their brains. This is in stark contrast to the zombies that we are familiar with, that generally move very slowly and don't speak or have much in the way of intelligence.
Send more cops.
Those infected with trioxin would begin to develop a severe fever before their body would begin to shut down over a period of a few hours. During this process, their behavior and emotions begin to dissipate, coinciding with the eventual shutdown of their vital systems, causing their body temperatures to plummet. In the film, the two medical warehouse workers that were first to be affected by the toxin were explained as having no pulse by the paramedics, who were shocked and confused to see the men still talking. The undertaker was also able to identify they were in the early stages of rigor mortis. He also noted that there was severe bruising on their backs from where they were lying down, explaining that the blood was pooling to those areas as there was no heartbeat to sufficiently move it throughout the body. The zombies created by 2,4,5 Trioxin developed an insatiable craving to consume human brains. In the film, the survivors were able to capture a zombie and tie her up before asking why she wanted to eat people. It's here that she explained she wasn't after the people, but their brains, insisting that she needed to consume brains to stop the enormous pain that she felt from being dead. This also served as an explanation as to why the zombies were always screaming. I thought it was interesting to note that unlike Romero's series and other zombie films that mimic the genre, the zombies featured in Return of the Living Dead did not crave human flesh and instead sought to feed on brains. And it's actually from this film that we get the common zombie eating brains trope.
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Why?
The pain.
What about the pain?
The pain of being dead.
The zombies were also very problematic to deal with, as traditional zombie killing methods like going for the head proved to be useless at stopping the undead. It was this inability to safely exterminate both the zombies and the toxin itself that led the military to keep them stored in pressurized steel drum containers in the first place. The film initially focuses on Frank and Freddy, who was being trained to work as a stock boy in the medical warehouse. It's here where Frank shamelessly mentions the events of George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which was released in 1968, insisting to Freddy that the film was based on real events. He then goes on to explain the brief history of the actual events that took place, and tells Freddy that the military ended up containing the zombies and putting them into steel drums, a few of which had coincidentally been accidentally sent to that very warehouse over a decade prior. Curious to see if Frank is pulling his leg or is being truthful, Freddy follows his boss to the basement where the drums are revealed. The apprentice then asks him if the containers are safe, and Frank bangs the drum in an attempt to show their durability, but instead inadvertently releases a 2,4,5 Trioxin into the vents of the warehouse, infecting both men and a cadaver that was being stored in the freezer above. They then both wake up a few hours later, visibly ill from the toxin, to discover the cadaver in the freezer had been reanimated. It's here that they find out that they cannot kill it in the traditional way by destroying the brain, choosing instead to cut it up into pieces and burn the zombie in an effort to completely eradicate it. Bert, the owner of the warehouse, decides to go over to the morgue and reveals their situation to the mortician, a man named Ernie, who was also his friend. While the guys cremate the remains of the zombie, Freddy's friends who are waiting to pick him up after work decide to break into the cemetery across the street to pass the time. Unfortunately for all of them, the smoke from the burning zombie exits through the chimney and contaminates the rain clouds. The rainfall that follows is the catalyst for the rise of the undead that begin terrorizing both groups and eventually the rest of the town as they all struggle to survive. Return of the Living Dead is an old gem of a film which injected some much needed dark comedy to the genre. The film also features some incredible 80s punk rock which soaks the film in angst and mayhem. Dan O'Bannon, who had penned the script for the first Alien film, and who starred and co-wrote John Carpenter's Dark Star, delivers a tongue-in-cheek homage to George A. Romero's groundbreaking work in the genre we've all come to love. Hilarious, terrifying, gripping, and satirical in its approach, I highly recommend you guys check this one out. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thanks to all of you guys who requested we take a look at the 2,4,5 Trioxin that was featured in the Return of the Living Dead. If there's any other content you would like me to check out, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Anybody? Are you here? Who's there?